Hello, one Paul here. Today I'm going to be talking about a strategy that's pretty simple to set up. Today we're going to be talking about the US30 and some other Forex pairs. Similar to my last couple videos where I went over crypto and then the stock market, we're going to see how this works for how the Forex market and the US30. And it's a pretty simple setup. You just have to have your linear lines, which is videos I've made before. And then you also have to have your, there's another indicator there. And it kind of helps show you the right moments to get in. It works good, especially for the stock market and for crypto. So we're going to see how this works for US30 and some Forex pairs and seeing if it works well, how well the setup works for the Forex market. Okay, so to set it up, you're going to need, it's just a simple setup here. First, you're going to need to do it with the linear regression candles, So you go to linear and you go to regression candles, and basically you just set it up with your signal line here, your plot line, and you're going to have to hide the regular candles, and that sets that up. And then once you do that, you're going to have to go to this other indicator here. It's called the OBV MACD indicator, and by default it'll look like this on the bottom. So what I do is I change things up a bit. I'll change the plot line to white. I'll make it more thick. I'll make it less thick. That's personal preference. And then right here where you see the blue and the red here, the blue is basically the green, so I change it to a green for bullish. Turn up the opacity and I mark down the thickness. And same thing the red, this is the bearish. I make it a bright red. I bring up the thickness and I bring up the opacity and I bring down the thickness. So that sets that up. It looks exactly like it does here. So that's how I set that up. And it's pretty simple to set that up. And basically what you want to look for is how to set this up. Basically you want to, and I'm going to do this on the day because day works really well. I do a lot of my trades on the day because I think you find the best signals even when you're dealing with something like the US30 and the Forex market. So basically what you want to do is you want to look for, now this will work for any time frame, but you basically want to find a cross with the zero line. And you want to make sure at the cross, the linear line is also showing a candle in that direction. So the candle pretty much has got to be, it's got to be happening pretty much at the same time. If it's not happening at the same time, you might find a weak trade or one that won't go on long. They got to really kind of happen at the same time. So like right here, you see the cross, and it's still below the linear line. So this is not a good trade in my opinion, because it just, what it shows me is that it's going to be a small trade. I mean, you could still take the trade. You can come in here, but you know, it's not above the linear line yet. So I probably wouldn't take this trade. It's probably going to come down, is what I'm thinking. So let's just find another couple moments with the US30 here. Now, right here, what you want to do is you want to see if it is, the candles are below the linear line right at the cross of the indicator. And the closer it is, the better the trade's going to be. So right here, you see it happen, the cross right here. So this would be a good trade, and this would be a good trade to take. So basically, you enter at the cross. They have to match, and then, you know, when it starts touching that linear line again, you can get out. But this is a 9-day. This is a 9-day trade, and it's 138,000 pips. So this would have resulted in about $1,385 with a 0.01 lot size. So let's look real quickly at again. So what we do is we look for a cross at the MACD, and it has to be above the linear line. So we come in here, ride this out until it touches, and in 22 days you would have made $1,762. So we see it crossing again right here. So this is a perfect trade, because at the same time it's crossing is the same time the candles are going down on the linear line. It's happening at exactly the same time. That's how you know it's a good trade. So if you came in right at the cross, you would come in right here and ride it out. And you basically get out when it starts touching the linear line again. So this is 16 days, and you would have made you would have turned a 0.01 into $2,000. So what you do, if you find what you do, and what I look for is a cross between the MACD, and you could take these trades if you want to, but they're not crossing the zero line. You basically have to make that judgment on if you want to take the trade or not, but you don't get an extra confirmation doing it that way. You're relying on that linear line to work out. So you basically want to check mark two things off here. You want to have it cross with the zero line either up or down, and it has to be in that direction with the linear line. Right here at this moment, we don't see that. But you can still take this trade. It's still a good trade, but you're only relying on one indicator for this. So if you took this trade, this is still a good trade. It took 19 days. You made $1,000. So right here is a very good trade. And you can see that it caught this big move. You see it crossing on the MACD, and you also see the candles moving at exactly the same time. So you could have got in this trade right here and rode it out. This entire time it doesn't even touch the linear line, so you know to keep going. And you can get out right here. This is 54 days. You would have turned a 0.01 into $4,700. So anyway, that's what I look for. I prefer doing it on the daily, but let me show you guys how to do this on a smaller time frame. Now, if I don't find the signal on the day, I'll go down in time frames. So I'll go here to, we'll go check the 6 hour here. We'll see if we see anything. So we see the cross happening right here. So this would be a good move right here. Crossing, and the linear line's crossing at exactly the same time. So this would be a good trade from here to here. This would have resulted in about $400 in 2 days. So let's look real quickly at these fake outs right here. And this is why I like doing it on longer time frames. You see it's crossing down right here. You see it crossing down right here. You can write it out. And this is about $282. But you can see that it did fake you out right here. So you got to be careful with that. That wouldn't have been a good trade right there. That would have faked you out. So we see it happen again right here, but it's not really above the linear line. So this is telling me it's a weak trade. So for me, that's a weak trade. So let's look for another one. Right here, we see it crossing down. And you see it happen exactly with the linear lines are happening at exactly the same time. So this is a good trade. And you write it down till it touches the linear line. This is 5 days, and you would have made about $928. So let's real quickly do this on an hour. Now, when I'm doing this, I don't really go to the small time frames because especially with the volatility of the US30, it's just, you won't make much. The hour is the smallest time frame I'll do with this strategy. What we want to look for on the hour, same thing, crosses on the MACD here, and we see that happening right about the same time. So this is a good trade. So this is about $128 in 2 days, right there. So right here where it crosses again. Now this is kind of something that I take note of. A good trade is when it's crossing on the MACD, and you see it crossing in that direction at exactly the same time. When you have something like this, it's already been it's already crossed up on the linear line, which means this is going to be a late trade, or it's going to be a trade where you won't make as much. If you find this happening at exactly the same time, you'll make more from what I could see. But it's already been up on the linear line, so this would still get you some profit, but it won't give you as much. So you could ride it from here to here. This is about, you see, it's only $91. But if you happen to get in right here at the start of it, which it didn't pick it up there, if you got in at the start of it, you would have made more, but it didn't pick it up on the MACD. So right here we have it happening at the same time, but this is going to be a small one. This is $91. Now, what I like about this is it will pick up on those big moves. So when there's a big move about to happen, you'll usually be able to catch it. See right here that it's crossing down, and everything's happening at exactly the same time. It's crossing on the MACD and the linear line. It's happening at the same time. That's how you know it's a good trade. So if you rode this out, you would have made $452 in 14 hours, which is pretty good. So real quickly, before I move on to some other Forex pairs, I want to show you how to do this on a weekly. I want to run by weekly real quick. And it won't happen as much on weekly, but it's something you need to keep your eyes open for. Because if you do find this on the weekly, you'll be able to make a lot of money. Remember, if this happens at exactly the same time, you're more likely to be in a very good trade. And if you find it on the weekly, you can potentially make a lot. So right here you see it crossing on the weekly, and you see it crossing up on the linear line exactly the same time. So you could have rode this entire thing out, because it doesn't even touch the linear line for up here. This is 140 days. 140 days of riding this out, and you would have turned a 0.01 into a $5,917. That's the power of doing this on the weekly. Doing it on the weekly, you're not gonna find it a lot. You won't find the patterns a lot, but definitely if you do decide to do this strategy, just look at the weekly first and see what's happening. Both of these indicators have to happen at exactly the same time for the best results. So right here you see it happen. You see the cross down, and it's also crossing down at the linear line at exactly the same time. So this is still a good trade right here because it's happening at the same time. Ride it out, and this would have been $1,952 in 42 days. So just keep a mental note of that. Let's show you a couple times. Now, it's not going to cross. You got to keep what I would do is briefly look at the weekly, because it's likely not going to happen for a while. It doesn't happen as much. But you see it happen here. You see it happen exactly the same time. You write it out. And this is 50 days, and then you turn a 0.01 into $4,394. So that's the power of this. That's the power of doing this with the US30. But right now, let's go back to the day, and let's look at a couple Forex pairs, see how this works. So it's the same thing. Now we're going to be looking at the US with the Japan yen here. So we see it crossing right here. Now you see it's not happening. There's not a match. This is not a match, but even though it's a good trade, it's not a match because exactly at the same time, it's still below the linear line. But you could still take this trade, and you would still have some good profit, but it's just not matching. So let's look again. You want to find the ones where it's matching because you'll get the best results. So right here you see the cross, and it's going up on the linear line. So this is a good trade right here. Touches right about here, so you would have made about this is a 4,000 pip move, a 4,531 pip move right there. So you can use your lot size accordingly here. See it crossing up right here. You see it's already up on the linear line, so you ride that one out. And that's a 2,480 pip move. You see it crossing again right here, and you see it also crossing up on the linear line, so this is a good move. You ride it out. And this is a 6,416 pip move in 21 days. So right here we see it going down. Crosses right here. You see it also crossing with the linear line. This is a very good move. You don't see it touching until right about here, so you get out. This is a 8,919 pip move for 35 days. Not bad. So you use your lot size accordingly. Real quick, let's look at another Forex pair. Let's look at the British pound. Okay, so we see that it's crossing right here. You also see it crossing with the linear line right about here. Ride this out till it touches the linear line. And you got a 1,653 pip move. See, this one's not going to be a good one. You see it's crossing. Well, yeah, it is. Actually, it is. You see it crossing on the MACD, and it's also crossing exactly the same time. You ride that out till it touches the linear line again. And this is a 1,992 pip move. So for those that I like doing everything on the day gives you the best results. But when you do it on the day, you're not going to find, it's not intraday, you're not going to find the signal. You're not going to find the signal every day. For those that want to do intraday, the lowest I will go is the hour. So let's look at a couple scenarios on the hour. So right here we see it crossing. Well, I think we already covered that one. Let's just go back a little bit. So crosses right here. You could get in this trade, but I would have got out. I actually would have got out when it touches the linear line. I wouldn't have held it. I get out when if it touches the linear line, basically. So you want to look for the cross, and then you want to get out. I wouldn't have been able to catch this because I would have got out when it touches the linear line. But that would have been a good dump right there. So we see it crossing up on the linear line, and this is another reason why I do it on the day, because it does appear to be more choppy when you go down to smaller time frames, especially when doing this method. So this is kind of choppy. I would have got out here. So for the perfect results with doing Forex, I would personally, and this is just because of what I'm seeing right here, you'll get better results if you do this on the day. Because if you go down in the time frames, it does get more and more choppy, and it is harder to find these patterns on smaller time frames. So anyway, that is how to do this strategy. It works better. Let's just real quickly show you this on the day. I don't know if I showed it on the day, but let's look at that. The difference between doing it on this is just Forex, and the difference is you can find the better trades doing it on the day. You find your signal here, and you find better signals by doing it on the day. So this doesn't work as well going down in smaller time frames. So doing this strategy on a smaller time frames, like the hour to anything lower than that, doesn't work as well. So for this strategy, I would specifically recommend doing this on the day chart, because you will find better patterns. It won't work for just finding little scalps. But if you want to do pairs, it didn't seem to have that big a problem with doing it with US30, but I still would do this, and I'd look their signals on the day chart, because you might find better signals. It is very volatile. with this method, but you do it on the day chart, you'll have better results just by seeing what I saw on this chart. But it does still work. It's just a little bit more volatile, a little bit more rough for this formula. If you want to do the strategy, I recommend doing it on the day or the 6 hour for the best results. But anyway, if you guys want to join my Discord, I'll put the link below. It's a community that I'm trying to build where I'll post screenshots on where I think certain assets are going, and you'll be able to actually talk to me more one-on-one. But other than that, if you guys like this video, like the strategy, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys in future videos.